The story begins with an old man taking his grandson to buy a blue bicycle. When they arrive at the store, the salesman tells them that the blue bikes are sold out and offers red ones instead. Still, he assures the old man that he'll get a blue one later. But what the man didn't know was that the salesman was a fraud. As soon as they left, he called his gang and planned to steal a blue bike from a nearby school. The next day, we meet Matilda, the girl who owned that stolen bike. She tries to get to school, but without her bike, she's stuck. To make things worse, the car her mother used to drive her also broke down. Her mother tried to reach her husband, Marcus, who was serving in the military in Afghanistan, but Marcus still had 3 months of additional training before returning home. So Matilda and her mother had to find their own way. That morning, they took the train to school. At the same time, we're introduced to Otto and Lennart, 2 failed employees at a marketing company who had just been fired for poor performance. While Otto was on his way home by train, he noticed something strange. A man throwing away untouched food, and another suspicious-looking man covered in tattoos who seemed like he could take on a fight all by himself. Soon after, Matilda and her mother boarded the same train. Otto noticed that Matilda's mother didn't have a seat, so he kindly offered her his. Everything seemed normal until disaster struck. A massive explosion ripped through the train, destroying everything. In that explosion, Matilda's mother and everyone near her were killed, while Otto survived with minor injuries and deep psychological trauma. As he left the crash site, Otto spotted Matilda, lost in shock and grief. Around the same time, Marcus received devastating news. His wife was among the victims. Granted an emergency leave, he returned home, where his little daughter Matilda was waiting for him. Their reunion was filled with pain and silence. Neither of them could comfort the other. Marcus was overwhelmed with guilt, blaming himself for not being there to protect his family. Despite the doctor's advice to avoid viewing his wife's body to prevent emotional damage, Marcus insisted on saying goodbye. Meanwhile, Otto sat at home watching the news coverage of the explosion. Then something caught his attention. One of the victims was a gang leader who was supposed to testify against the Riders of Justice, a notorious biker gang. Otto began connecting the dots and became convinced that the explosion wasn't an accident, but a carefully planned attack. He rushed to the police, explaining everything he had noticed about the man who left the train before the explosion, and the other who suspiciously left his food untouched. But the police ignored his claims, seeing them as wild guesses with no real evidence. Determined to uncover the truth on his own, Otto turned to his former colleague Lennart for help. He asked him to hack into the train's data system so they could track down the mysterious man who got off just before the explosion happened. Otto was convinced that the man he saw on the train was the mastermind behind the explosion, and that the police wouldn't lift a finger. They'd just file it away as a random accident. Meanwhile, Marcus and Matilda were drowning in grief, unable to move forward. Marcus tried to hide his emotions, thinking it would ease Matilda's pain, but his silence only created more distance between them. A while later, Otto and Lennart showed up at Marcus's house, surprising him. How did they even find his address? Otto simply explained that Lennart had extraordinary hacking skills. Then, without meaning to, he revealed that Matilda's father had served in the special forces. Without wasting time, Otto insisted that the train explosion wasn't a coincidence, but a deliberate attack. He invited Marcus to join their investigation, and Marcus agreed, suggesting they move to the warehouse to discuss it further. There, Otto described everything he saw that day, how a man left the train just moments before the blast. He explained that the real target was a gang leader, which meant the explosion was carefully planned. The realization hit Marcus hard. His wife hadn't died by chance. His heart burned with the desire for revenge. Otto and Lennart pushed to identify the suspect immediately, but their only clue was a blurry surveillance photo. No name, no details. So they decided to bring in their friend, an expert in facial recognition, named Emmenthaler. The next day, they met with Emmenthaler and asked him to analyze the image using his face recognition system. After multiple attempts, he still couldn't find a match. Lennart, growing impatient, insisted on lowering the accuracy threshold from 99% to 95% to speed things up. Emmenthaler hesitated, warning that it might cause false results, but eventually gave in under Lennart's pressure. And it worked. The system identified the man as the brother of a gang leader from a group called the Riders of Justice. Otto became even more certain that the explosion had been an assassination meant to eliminate a rival. Back at home, things were tense. It was getting late, and Matilda still hadn't come back. When she finally arrived, Marcus found out she'd been with her boyfriend Sirius. He told her to come inside immediately, but Sirius answered him with attitude. Marcus lost his temper and slapped him across the face. Furious, Matilda lashed out at her father, yelling at him before storming off. Later, Marcus tried to apologize, and the next morning he asked her to invite Sirius over so he could apologize to him in person. Meanwhile, Otto and the others came to Marcus's house, announcing that they had finally identified the man responsible for the explosion. Without wasting a moment, the four of them headed straight to the suspect's home. Marcus confronted the man aggressively, demanding answers. But the suspect pulled a gun and ordered them to leave. As they turned to go, Marcus suddenly snapped. He lunged at the man, grabbed him, and broke his neck, killing him instantly. Everyone froze in shock. Lennart panicked over the fingerprints Marcus had left behind and immediately cleaned up the scene to remove any trace that could link them to the crime. At that moment, Emmenthaler couldn't stand the sight of the corpse. His hatred for gang members boiled over, and he began kicking the body furiously. Lennart tried to calm him down and ordered him to stop immediately. Then he told everyone to wait in the car while he cleaned up the crime scene. But while searching for cleaning supplies, Lennart slipped and accidentally discovered a man being held hostage. Terrified, he ran straight to the car and fled the area with the others. That evening, Matilda arrived with her boyfriend Sirius to have dinner with Marcus. During dinner, she expressed concern about her father's behavior and suggested that he see a therapist. She explained that his ego had grown ever since the war in Afghanistan, and especially after her mother's death. Marcus, however, firmly rejected the idea, insisting that he didn't need any kind of help. After dinner, Marcus watched a news report about the Riders of Justice gang, still free, still wreaking havoc and killing without mercy. The report reignited his rage, and he made up his mind to eliminate every last one of them. The next day, Marcus met with Otto and the team, demanding any information they had on the gang members. He announced his plan to hunt them down one by one. Emmenthaler was enthusiastic about the idea, but Otto hesitated, saying it sounded more like a massacre than justice. Still, despite his doubts, he agreed to join in. The team decided to head to Emmenthaler's house to dig up more information about the gang. Just then, Matilda unexpectedly walked into the house. Otto froze in panic and tried to hide. He still felt guilty for what happened to her mother, since he was the one who had given up his seat to her on the train before it exploded. Matilda noticed him and started asking questions, but Lennart and Emmenthaler quickly stepped in, claiming they were psychologists brought in by Marcus to help with his emotional recovery, and that Otto was simply a friend assisting them. Matilda believed the story, smiled, and was happy that her father had finally agreed to therapy. Meanwhile, Pashka, the hostage Lennart had seen earlier, was being interrogated by the leader of the Riders of Justice. The leader threatened to kill him unless he revealed the name of his brother's killer. Under pressure, Pashka broke down and said the man responsible was Emmenthaler Taylor. To avoid drawing Matilda's attention, Marcus and the team returned to the warehouse to continue their investigation. But the old computer there was too slow to access any real data, so Emmenthaler suggested going back to his place to get his more powerful machine. When the three arrived at Emmenthaler's house, they were shocked to see gang members watching the area. As soon as they tried to go inside, the gang ambushed them, but Marcus's military training turned the fight in their favor. He took down the attackers with ease. After the fight, they found Pashka tied up in one of the gang's cars. They freed him and took him with them. Back at the warehouse, Marcus suggested that everyone stay together at his home for safety. Over the next few days, the team spent time with Matilda, which helped strengthen their bond. Marcus even began training them to handle weapons in case of another attack. Meanwhile, the gang leader found out that Emmenthaler was working with Marcus, so he sent his men to track them down. That night, Otto and Matilda were playing chess, and their relationship grew warmer. Matilda even took a photo of them together and posted it on social media. At the same time, Marcus and Emmenthaler managed to hack into one of the gang members' phones and discovered that the Riders of Justice were planning a meeting at a nearby bar. When the gang members returned home, Marcus struck quickly, taking them out one by one. Emmenthaler and Otto tried to help him with the final target, but they failed, forcing Marcus to step in and finish the job himself. The next day, while the Riders of Justice were trying to regroup, the daughter of one of the members came across a social media post showing Otto's picture. It turned out that Sirius had uploaded it, and the girl who attended the same school as him recognized Otto immediately. Later on, Lennart asked Pashka why he had been held captive by the gang. Pashka explained that his own mother had sold him to them to work as a companion for women. When Lennart asked about the train explosion, Pashka said that everyone in Denmark had been talking about it, but at the time of the blast he had been in Germany with the supposed suspect. Lennart was shocked to realize they'd been chasing the wrong target all along. The train explosion had nothing to do with the Riders of Justice. After reviewing the investigation data, the team confirmed that their entire case had been built on a terrible mistake. When Marcus was told the truth, he completely broke down. He realized he had killed an innocent man who had nothing to do with any of it, and that his actions had directly drawn the real gang to them. Overwhelmed with rage and guilt, he stormed into the bathroom and smashed everything inside, trying to release his frustration. Otto tried to calm him down amid the chaos. Eventually, the truth became clear. Their so-called target was just a Turkish worker at the train station, and the explosion had been nothing more than a tragic accident. The next day, members of the Riders of Justice showed up at Sirius's house and tortured him until he revealed Otto and Emmenthaler's location. Meanwhile, Marcus sensed that something was wrong and rushed back home, only to find that the gang had already begun their attack. He secured Matilda to keep her safe, then faced the attackers head-on, using his military training to take them down, though he was shot in the process. Things took a darker turn when the gang leader managed to grab Matilda as a hostage. Marcus immediately surrendered, begging them to kill him instead and let his daughter go. At the last second, Otto and the rest of the team stormed in and opened fire on the gang, giving Marcus the chance to fight back and rescue Matilda. During the battle, Matilda was shot in her left arm. Marcus held her close, apologizing as they waited for the ambulance to arrive. But his own injuries were severe, and he eventually lost consciousness. In the final scene, on Christmas Eve, Marcus and the team sit together like one big family. Him, his daughter Matilda, and his former misfit companion, who had now become an inseparable part of their lives. In the last shot of the film, the same old man from the beginning finally receives the blue bicycle he had wanted for his grandson. The very same bike that once belonged to Matilda, the one that had set off this entire chain of events. And that's how this confusing movie ends, a story with no clear plot or strong connection between its events. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. Have a great evening wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next summary.